Hello and welcome to part 2 of your InDesign cover duplication lesson. You might see that things look a little bit different here. That's because the first part 1 I actually did a couple years ago with a different magazine, but we're at the same stage. We've got a newer version of InDesign now, but we're at the same level here. If I click on my layers palette over here, you can see that I do have it in the same spot. I've got in the first layer here, I've got my background or my template that I'm working with. Let's call that original. And then here's the artwork that I've created so far, and all I've done is just this one headline here, and it's in a text box. So first thing I think I'm going to do is go to Photoshop, and I'm going to work with a particular image. So if I click on Photoshop, okay, I've got this one image of this former student here, and I've just blurred his face out just because this is going on the internet. You do not have to blur your face out for this project. This is just because for my lesson on the internet. What I've already taken this, and you know how to use Photoshop from your previous assignments, and I've just cropped him out of the background, as well as just for fun, because I want to make it close to the original here. I colorized his shirt to red, as well as I already know that I'm going to have to flip this image in here because he's backwards. He's holding it with his left hand, I guess, and he's holding it with his right hand. So I'm going to, I need to flip it. So what I did is I flipped this, and so I'm going to show you how to flip it in InDesign here, but I want the type to be right when we're all done with it. So let's save this file. Now the nice thing is all the Adobe products are compatible with each other. So I can take this file, and let's go to InDesign, and just for now I'm going to get rid of this, and there's that type there. I'm going to go File, Place, and I'm going to go get that file. Let's go get that and that file. Okay, here's the file. Here's the file right here, and I'm just going to drop it in, and it's huge. That's because it's actually the size of the actual picture is taken from what we did on the photograph. And if you just load it in right off the camera, right from the camera, you'll see that the original one is like 4 feet by over 4 feet at that resolution. That's just the way things are directly from a camera. So we could either resize it here, or we're just going to resize it down right in InDesign. Let's just go to my free transform tool, and we're just going to scale it down by a whole lot. There he comes. There he is. And let's just scale it down. Might have been easy. Now I just did a really hack job of my cropping here. It's a little embarrassing, actually. I usually try to do a better job than that. Okay, so I already know that if I want to be like the background here, that he needs to be flipped. Just going to right click on my text box, or I'm sorry, my picture box, and go transform. There we go. Transform, and you can rotate, but I actually am going to flip horizontal, and that makes my life easier now. Okay, so oops. Let's go edit, redo. All right. And bring him over. Sorry about that. Okay, so maybe we're just going to tilt it a little bit here. Right, if I just I can just tilt it automatically here. All right, so now I see that the ball is hanging off the edge. That's no big deal. When I go into my preview mode by just hitting the W, you can see that's how it's going to look when it's all said and done. Okay, and this type that's right here, I want it to be in front. So just for now, I'm just going to take this the picture of the boy and just send him in behind. So that type is now going over top. Okay, so that's one thing. Actually, now let's add in. We're going to call this foreground. Now let's add a couple of things. In the assignment, I am allowing you to take the masthead and duplicate that off the internet. This is, I'm not asking you to redesign something, that's later on. So you can just take the design off of the internet. So what I went ahead and I did, you should know how to do this already. I went to Google, I found the Sports Illustrated logo, and I cropped it out of Photoshop, okay? All the transparency stuff transfers between from Photoshop to InDesign, so that's nice. So if I crop something out of here and I save it as a Photoshop file, then this background is the transparency is preserved. Same thing with the picture of our student here. So I'm just going to go File and Place. And I already have that as well. And here is my Photoshop file. I can see that it's a Photoshop file. I'm going to go open it up and I'm going to bring that in. And again, I need to size that down. So just free transform that down, holding down the Shift key as I do this because I wanted to keep it proportional, okay? So there we go. And I think I just need to nudge that a little bit bigger. All right. Oh, look at that. It's a different, oh no. Let's just make that a little bit bigger. There we go. Now, oh, I guess the logo is oh yeah, in this version, the logos are slightly different. I didn't notice that. Well, for now, we're just going to leave it the way it was. I was trying to match it up, and I was wondering, why isn't this working? All right. Good enough for now. I'm going to take this. Oh, I bet you this is the original, and they moved the word sports over for this one episode so they could see it behind the guy's head and for this picture. I bet you they did that on purpose. Let's go right-click, and I'm going to send that to the back, arrange, send to back, and now this is what we've got so far. We've got our type, and we've got our picture here, and we've got the ball here. And we've got this type right here. There we go. So what I just want to do, all I'm going to do in this lesson here now is just we want to create a new background. So all I'm going to do, and maybe this is a good time for a new layer. Because I've got these main elements here and things are going to start to get jumbled. I'm going to make a new layer here and call it background color and do that. And so we've got another layer there, and I'm going to just put it in between so it's in behind. So let's hide this, and I'm just going to work here. All I want to do is you notice in this background here we've got a red background, but it has a gradient, a blend that goes to a dark, deep red. Let's do that. I'm going to show you how to do that. All I'm going to do is make a box. Make it like that. Oh, okay, I kind of gave away my trick here. I'm going to show you. I had practiced this before, and that's the default right now. So I'm going to just, let's show you how to change that. Let's go to the gradient tool right here. If I double click over here, or sometimes they show up, they can be in this tab, sometimes not. At the very least, you can always go Window and go Gradient. It should be under Color and then Gradient, and then this box will pop up. And this is all the properties of the gradient. Now, I admit doing a gradient in InDesign can be a bit of a pain in the butt. We're going to get around that right now. Sometimes it can be a little tricky. What it does, if I was just working with a plain old color, I could assign a color to this. Like say if I just went up to here and then I just picked a color, and here is the color of that box right now. Oops. I don't know why I went back. There we go. There we go. It went there. Okay, and then, but then if you want to assign a gradient to it, then you can just say I could just take this property here, and I could just maybe just drag that over, and it becomes part of that. Let's make changes to this gradient. You can do like a radial gradient. Here, we'll select that, and that way these changes become live. And then if I want to make changes here, what I can do is I can highlight these things and make changes to them. So let's just grab that, move that over, and you can see how those changes manipulate there. Let's change some color. If I have the color palette open at the same time, and then the gradient, see how that does that? I want a pain in the butt. What I'm going to do to get rid of that, I'm just going to take this gradient and pull it off so it detaches from here. And then I'll highlight that. So that way, when I double click here, it shows up here. And so if I make changes to here, let's make it like a blue. All right, that changes down there. And this guy right here, if I click on that, it shows up here. We can make that like anything we want. So now and if you wanted to have more blends, I could even just click here and just make that like a completely different color. Oh, look at that! I have one too many colors. Let's get rid of it. If I can just drag it off, and all of a sudden becomes like that. Oh, it looks like it might be a good sunset. In fact, if I want, we can actually change the angle of that by just highlighting this, and let's go 90 degrees or minus 90 degrees. And it shows up like that, and we can go ahead and we can change those properties there. So let's make one that looks kind of like our background. If I go here, I want to make that look like that. So the top one, let's go back to here. Let's go to my first one. We want that to be a nice, strong red. Okay, and then this one, I wanted to have another nice, strong red, which happens to be there. But here's a little trick here. I want it to be a deep red. Like if I just were to pick like a black there. Oops. I want to make sure that's highlighted. And then that. So now you can see how it's got kind of a fade here because it's going from red, which is made up of magenta and yellow, just to black, which actually has no magenta and yellow. If you actually just continue on keep that magenta and yellow in there, look how much richer that red is there. That's so much better, okay? And so I'm just manipulating that just by adding the amount of black to that existing color, okay? Rather than, like I said, if it was like this, like that's just a complete, you're essentially going to gray and you're removing that color. We're keeping that richness in there, okay? So let's keep that there. We're going to back that off to about there. Well, that looks pretty close. Maybe this is a little too light. Let's go to a lighter. Oh no, I think that's there we go. That's what we want. There you go. No, not bad. Not bad. Okay. So let's actually make this now a box, a nice big color. Oh, there we go. Oh, and by the way, if you wanted to do it another way, if you're not confident with mixing color like this, what you could do is just take pre-existing colors here, and let's move this over here. And if you wanted to, you could take pre-existing swatches, and probably in yours you might have like way more, and you could just drop those into here, I believe. And see how you just change that? And like I could just drop that into there, and it just made our changes like that. So that's not so bad either. All right, let's make that angle. What should it be? No, minus 90. Great. Now I don't have to send this to the back because I just need to go back into my layers and show the stuff that I've got in the foreground. Look at that. Already starting to look pretty good. There's the original. Let's move that off to the side. All right, and then there's that. Looking pretty slick so far. Okay, so there's your lesson for the day. Get rolling. You got lots to do.